There are, in fact, only 3 bridges in Middlesex County. There's the Aragoni Bridge in Middletown, there's our Swing Bridge, and then there's the Baldwin Bridge in Old Saybrook. In the past, the residents of East Haddam felt that the bridge was their lifeline to the rest of the state.
The town of Haddam is unusual in that we are divided by the Connecticut River. So a portion of our municipality actually lies on the eastern side of the Connecticut River as well as the western side. So this bridge is the main artery that keeps us connected as a municipality.
Initially, East Haddam was actually part of the town of Haddam. Since Haddam was settled in 1662, there's almost been a ferry since that time period. The first ferry was established between the section of town we call Tylerville and East Haddam. And for over a few hundred years, there was a ferry at that location. And that was probably the most prominent ferry crossing between Haddam, the west side, and the east side. But there were also other ferries farther to the north. There was one at what we now call Ruddy Landing, and that was between the Haddam side and the upper landing in East Haddam. And there were 2 ferries between Haddam and Haddam Neck, one way up in Higganum, and then one about where the Connecticut Yankee Power Plant was located. Primarily, they started out very simple with scow crossings that were either rowed across the river or pulled across the river, and then later on the steam ferries came into existence, probably around 1850 or so. By the early 20th century, I think the people between East Haddam and Haddam were getting a little tired of having to cross the river on the ferry boat. Initially, it was important for the commercial establishments and the industry in East Haddam to have the bridge.
East Haddam and the village of Moodus are very well known for having had twine mills. There were more than 12 mills on the Moodus River alone, and many more dotted throughout the town. East of the river is a quiet community. West of the river is where most of the population centers are. So it was really crucial for manufacturers to get their product across the river.
And the easiest way for them to transport their goods across the river to get on the trains to go to the larger cities was by bridge. The area between Tylerville, the river between Tylerville and East Haddam, is actually one of the narrowest points of the river, at least south of Hartford, so it was the perfect location to consider building a bridge. And so I think politicians in both towns, got together and petitioned the state to come up with funding to open the bridge.
The construction of the bridge started with planning in 1909. It was brought to the governor. The governor, in turn, shared the responsibility with the Secretary of War. And it was completed in 1913, at which point the General Spencer, the Deer Ferry, was decommissioned. The bridge is a swing bridge, and it reaches more than halfway across the river on the swing side. It attaches to a fixed side span as well.
I think that they kept in mind that there were boats that needed to come up and down the river of substantial size. For example, the steamboats were still running between New York and Hartford on a regular basis, and they're fairly large ships, so I think it was to help the river traffic.
So fall and spring are probably the busiest because we have a lot of boaters that winter their boat up north in Portland or Middletown, and then they summer in like Niantic or Mystic or something like that.
It's a beautiful bridge. You can't find them like this anymore, and people can't believe how it still works after 105 years.
The east side of the river now has a big push for tourism, and the bridge is part of that. With a regular bridge, there goes part of the the curiosity of what's the swing bridge.
There's so very few of these swing bridges around. People come to this area just to see the swing bridge and to say they went across it.
One of its features and attractions is that it had an osprey nest on the top. And a few years ago, as maintenance had to get done, we saw that this nest made of sticks was actually falling down, and under typical circumstances, we would remove it to have to do the maintenance. There's a lot of fans of the osprey, and the town approached us, and a state legislator approached me and said, can't you do something? I mean, build a nest, do something for the osprey. So I went back to the DOT folks in maintenance and said, they'd really like us to put a platform on top of that bridge. And their first instinct was, no way, we're not going to do this. I said, I think it's the right thing to do, and you really ought to consider it. They got their heads together, and over the course of a winter, and some of the times they weren't plowing snow, they fabricated a platform that they then attached to the top of the bridge. It was a terrific project, a lot of town support.
The ice jams last year, that was a bit crazy with the people that showed up, and the national news was here, and the Channel 3 and all the other news stations were here, so that was a little crazy. I saw a bear swimming across one time from one side to the other, right over here, from the Haddam side to the East Haddam side. Little things like that. And some of the boaters make me laugh sometimes, but it's just beautiful with the Opera House right there, and it's scenic, and I think people just like driving over it and looking at it sometimes.
It's always a sore subject when the bridge opens for boats to go through, that there's a slight buildup of traffic, but it's so insignificant as a trade-off for the historic bridge.
Well, I think it's just a work of art, and it's a particularly beautiful bridge. It's extremely old. It's over 100 years old now. It celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2013. And I think it's special because it's lasted so long. I think the setting of it is extremely beautiful. And it always has a place in my heart, so that's why I think it's special.
It is one of these iconic things that people know this bridge for the way it looks. People that cruise up and down the river on the cruises or on our pleasure boats really view this as part of the community.
It definitely is a part of this area and should continue to be a part of the area.
Like many old things, it does require maintenance, but I think if they stay on top of it and they're able to keep it in good condition, it may hopefully last for another 100 years.